shows that its construction was a far greater collaborative effort than scientists believed.
Stonehenge is one of the most mysterious and iconic ancient monuments in the world. Standing alone on the vast plains of southern England for nearly 5,000 years, it has fascinated historians, archaeologists, and visitors for centuries. Massive stones, some weighing more than 25 tons, rise from the ground in a circular arrangement so precise that even modern researchers continue to question how such a structure was created by prehistoric people. For generations, we were taught simple explanations. Some believed Stonehenge was a temple built for ancient rituals. Others claimed it was a burial ground because human remains were discovered nearby. There were also theories that it served as a giant calendar to track the movement of the sun and seasons. Legends made the mystery even deeper, with stories claiming that the wizard Merlin used magic to transport the stones, while others imagined help from supernatural forces or even extraterrestrials. These explanations were repeated so often that many accepted them as fact. But what if all of these theories were incomplete? Recent scientific research is forcing experts to rethink everything we thought we knew about Stonehenge. After decades of studying individual parts of the monument without reaching a satisfying answer, researchers turned to a completely new approach: artificial intelligence. Instead of analyzing one stone, one excavation, or one theory at a time, advanced systems processed centuries of excavation records, geological surveys, engineering calculations, and astronomical measurements all at once. What the analysis revealed was astonishing. Stonehenge does not behave like a simple monument. It behaves like a carefully engineered system. To understand why this matters, we need to look back at the monument itself. Stonehenge stands on Salisbury Plain, about 90 miles southwest of London. At first glance, it appears to be just a circle of standing stones. But the closer researchers looked, the more complexity they discovered. The monument is made from two main types of stone. The larger sarsen stones form the outer ring and central trilithons, each weighing up to 25 tons and transported from quarries around 15 miles away. Then there are the smaller blue stones, each weighing between 2 and 5 tons, brought from the Preseli Hills in Wales, over 150 miles away. Even moving these stones would have required extraordinary effort, but moving them was only the beginning. The stones were shaped with remarkable precision. Many were carved with interlocking joints similar to modern woodworking techniques. This allowed horizontal lintel stones to fit securely on top of vertical stones, creating stable structures capable of withstanding thousands of years of weather and erosion. This was not random construction, it was advanced engineering. Artificial intelligence revealed that the placement of these stones follows patterns too precise to be accidental. Every gap between stones aligns with specific sightlines. Certain stones point directly towards solar events such as the summer solstice sunrise and winter solstice sunset. Others align with lunar cycles that take decades to repeat. This level of astronomical precision suggests the builders possessed sophisticated knowledge of the sky. But perhaps the most fascinating discovery came from sound. In 2020, acoustical engineer Trevor Cox and his team at the University of Salford conducted an experiment unlike anything attempted before. Using advanced 3D printing, they created a detailed scale model of Stonehenge and placed it inside a specialized acoustic chamber. Their goal was simple: determine how sound behaves inside the monument. The results were surprising. Inside the stone circle, sound behaves very differently than it would in an open field. Instead of dispersing into the air, voices become fuller and stronger. Sounds reflect off the stones in a way that creates an enclosed acoustic environment. Drum beats produce deep vibrations that can be physically felt throughout the space. This suggests Stonehenge may have been intentionally designed to manipulate sound. Imagine ancient gatherings inside the circle, voices amplified, drums echoing, vibrations resonating through the stones themselves. The experience would have been powerful, immersive, and unlike anything outside the monument. This changes how we think about Stonehenge. It may not have been simply a place to observe the sky or bury the dead. It may have been a carefully designed environment where sound, light, movement, and astronomy work together. Ground-penetrating radar has added another layer to this mystery. Beneath the visible stones, researchers have identified hidden pits, pathways, and buried structures extending far beyond the monument itself. These underground features suggest Stonehenge was once part of a much larger ceremonial landscape connected to nearby sites. This means the famous stone circle may only be one part of a broader system. Some archaeologists now believe Stonehenge served as a gathering point for large communities spread across prehistoric Britain. It may have been a place for ceremonies, seasonal events, healing rituals, or social coordination between distant groups. Its design appears to combine engineering, acoustics, astronomy, and human experience in ways far more sophisticated than previously imagined. And perhaps the most remarkable part is this: the builders achieved all of this without metal tools, modern machinery, or written blueprints. They moved enormous stones across impossible distances. They shaped them with incredible precision. They aligned them with celestial events. They created acoustic properties that modern science can only now fully appreciate. This reveals something profound about the people who built Stonehenge. They were not primitive laborers working blindly. They were skilled planners, engineers, and observers of nature with knowledge far beyond what we once assumed. Yet despite all these discoveries, Stonehenge still refuses to give up all its secrets. Why was this exact location chosen? Why transport stones from so far away? What ceremonies took place within its circle? And what knowledge guided its construction? The more we learn about Stonehenge, the more mysterious it becomes. It stands not just as a monument to the past, but as a reminder that ancient civilizations may have understood the world in ways we are only beginning to rediscover. And perhaps the greatest mystery of all is this: if people nearly 5,000 years ago could build something this advanced, what else were they capable of that history has forgotten, appeared to enhance certain tones deliberately? Even more intriguing was what didn't happen. Despite the large, hard stone surfaces, the structure didn't create the sharp echoes one might expect. The arrangement of the inner stones disrupted sound waves coming from the outer ring, softening reflections and preventing harsh echoes. This kind of acoustic control is not something that typically happens by accident, which led researchers to consider the possibility of intentional design. As the research continued, further insights emerged. Some of the stones themselves produced clear ringing tones when struck, suggesting they were chosen for their acoustic properties rather than simply their availability. Additionally, the structure seemed to support low-frequency vibrations known as infrasound, which are felt rather than heard. These vibrations are known to influence human emotions, sometimes creating feelings of awe, unease, or even a sense of presence. When all of this data was analyzed and modeled, the results pointed in a striking direction. Stonehenge did not just interact with sound, it shaped it in complex and meaningful ways. This raises a compelling question. If the builders intentionally designed this space to influence sound and human experience, what kind of knowledge did they possess thousands of years ago, and how did they come to understand it so well? The Stone Network. Once it became clear that Stonehenge seemed to shape and control sound, it no longer looked like a simple arrangement of stones. Instead, it began to resemble a carefully designed system, almost like a machine. And if that were true, then the next logical question followed naturally. Where did all the parts of this machine actually come from? To explore that, artificial intelligence was brought into the investigation, allowing researchers to go far beyond traditional methods. The system processed thousands of geological surveys, transportation studies, and environmental data sets, carefully tracing the origins of each major stone used in the structure. As it analyzed the data, it began to reconstruct not only where the stones came from, but also how they might have been moved across the landscape thousands of years ago. The findings started with what researchers already knew. The smaller blue stones, which weigh between 2 and 5 tons, were traced back to Wales, roughly 150 miles away. The much larger sarsen stones, some weighing up to 25 tons, were linked to the Marlborough Downs about 25 meters north of Stonehenge. For years, scholars had debated how these stones reached the site, with some suggesting glaciers carried them during the Ice Age. In contrast, others believed local communities transported them over shorter distances using simple tools. However, when the AI tested these ideas against real-world data, something didn't quite fit. The patterns of movement, the terrain, and the physical limits of those methods didn't fully explain what was observed. Then, as the system examined each stone more closely, it noticed something that had been overlooked for generations. One particular stone, known as the altar stone, didn't match any known quarry in Wales where it had long been assumed to originate. To solve this mystery, the AI compared the stone's mineral composition against sandstone formations across Britain, analyzing its elemental fingerprint in remarkable detail. After scanning countless records and geological samples, it found a single precise match: the Arcadian Basin in northeastern Scotland, more than 600 miles away. This discovery was later confirmed in late 2024 by a research team led by Anthony Clark, who used high-precision mass spectrometry to examine microscopic mineral grains within fragments of the stone. These grains revealed a unique mix of ages, some between 1 and 2 billion years old and others around 450 million years old. Moving a 6-ton stone over such a distance by land would have been extraordinarily difficult, especially with Neolithic technology, making simple dragging methods highly impractical. As all this evidence came together, it completely transformed the story. The builders were not simply gathering whatever materials were nearby. Instead, they selected specific stones from distant regions and brought them together with clear intent. So, if these ancient builders carefully selected and transported materials across such vast distances, what kind of larger design were they trying to create by bringing all of these elements together? The celestial targeting system. After carefully analyzing the stones on the ground, the artificial intelligence shifted its attention upward toward the sky above Stonehenge. Most people already know that the monument has a clear connection to the sun. Every year, thousands of visitors gather on Salisbury Plain to witness this spectacle, reinforcing the long-held belief that Stonehenge functioned primarily as a solar calendar marking the changing seasons. For ancient farming communities, such a system would have been extremely valuable, helping them determine the right times for planting and harvest. For many years, this explanation seemed both practical and complete. However, the artificial intelligence was not satisfied with tradition alone, so it began to investigate more deeply. It compared the exact placement of every stone with reconstructed maps of the sky as it would have appeared roughly 5,000 years ago, carefully adjusting for Earth's slow wobble known as axial precession. The system calculated ancient horizon lines, modeled long-term lunar cycles, and even accounted for major lunar standstill events that occur about every 18.66 years. Working with extraordinary precision, it examined angles to the nearest fraction of a degree, searching for patterns that human observers might have missed. What was discovered was unexpected. Beyond the well-known solar alignments, another orientation emerged, one that did not correspond to the sun, the moon, any bright planet, or even a prominent star cluster. Instead, the layout appeared to point toward a seemingly empty region of the ancient sky. To verify the finding, Dr. Julio Amaghi, an archaeoastronomer at the Politecnico de Milano, who had spent decades studying European prehistoric sites, reviewed the AI's methodology. After checking the calculations, he agreed that the geometry appeared intentional rather than accidental, with precise angles unlikely to result from rough construction alone. 5,000 years ago, that section of sky contained no bright stars and no planets passing through significant cycles, leaving nothing obvious to justify such careful alignment. Yet the probability analysis suggested that the builders deliberately chose this direction considering the immense effort required to transport massive stones from distant regions such as Wales and the Marlborough Downs, and to arrange them with remarkable engineering skill. The idea that the monument could be aimed at nothing seemed puzzling. Continuing its simulations, the AI projected astronomical changes far into the future, tracking how stars slowly shift position over millennia due to Earth's motion. Gradually, a new possibility emerged. Perhaps Stonehenge was not designed for the sky as it once appeared, but for the sky as it would eventually become. In that sense, the monument might function less like a seasonal calendar and more like a long-term marker, patiently awaiting a rare celestial event that would only occur after many generations had passed. If that is true, then the real question is not what ancient people saw when they built Stonehenge, but what they believed the future sky would one day reveal. The psychological control. The artificial intelligence did not stop after studying where the stones came from or how they aligned with the sky because another more human question remained. What did this place actually do to the people who stood inside it? To explore that, it reconstructed an experience rather than a measurement. Imagine a traveler 5,000 years ago crossing the wide grasslands of Salisbury Plain. Exhausted from days of walking and guided only by stories of a sacred circle where powerful forces could be felt. As he approaches, the stones rise slowly into view, dark against the fading light, and when he finally steps between them at sunset, he enters a space unlike anything he has known before. He does not know acoustics or engineering, yet his body responds immediately. Deep vibrations move through his chest, subtle but undeniable, as if the ground itself were humming. The air feels strangely dense, and sounds behave in unfamiliar ways. Drums echo with outy sharp edges. Voices seem larger than the people producing them, and faint noises appear to come from all directions at once. Even standing alone, he senses a presence. Not because he sees anything, but because the environment itself feels alive. Experiments in recent years suggest that Stonehenge could shape sound in unusual ways. Acoustic researcher Trevor Cox demonstrated that the arrangement of stones alters how waves travel and reflect. At the same time, Rupert Till found that the smaller Welsh bluestones possess resonant bell-like qualities when struck. When these properties are combined with the massive sarsen stones from the Marlborough Downs, the result is a structure capable of guiding pressure waves through its interior. The artificial intelligence modeled these interactions and found patterns that appeared deliberate rather than accidental, as if the builders understood, at least intuitively, how to create a powerful sensory chamber. In such an environment, a leader's voice would carry with unusual force, filling the circle and seeming to come from everywhere at once. A listener might interpret these sensations as evidence of supernatural presence rather than physical cause, especially during gatherings timed to dramatic solar events when sunrise or sunset light framed the stones and focused everyone's attention in the same direction. By shaping sight, sound, and bodily sensation simultaneously, the monument could guide how people interpreted their feelings, encouraging awe, fear, and unity. So, if this place could influence how thousands of people felt at once, then who controlled that experience? The hidden architects. After studying sound, stone, and sky, the artificial intelligence turned to the question of social organization, asking what kind of people could plan and control a project as vast as Stonehenge. The monument did not appear all at once, but grew in stages over many centuries. So those who began the work would never see its completion, hauling them from places as distant as Western Wales, the Marlborough Downs, and even the Arcadian Basin in northern Scotland. Such an effort could not rely on chance cooperation alone. It required sustained direction, reliable supply lines, and a shared purpose strong enough to outlast individual lifetimes. Moving stones over hundreds of miles of land and sea would have demanded coordinated planning, especially if marine routes were used along the British coastline. Scientific studies support this view. In 2024, geologist Anthony Clark of Curtin University confirmed that the Alterone originated in the Arcadian Basin through detailed mineral analysis, while other researchers noted that deliberate selection and sea transport were the most plausible explanations. These findings suggest knowledge, not randomness, guides the builder's choices. Yet archaeological evidence shows little sign of massive fortifications or constant warfare around Salisbury Plain at that time. If a small group possessed specialized knowledge of seasons, materials, or ritual practices, they could present the construction as a sacred duty, motivating people to contribute even without understanding the full design. In this way, Stonehenge functioned not only as a physical structure but also as a social project, concentrating knowledge in a few hands while mobilizing thousands of others. Rather than emerging from disorder, the monument reflects long-term coordination and vision, suggesting a society capable of organizing itself around goals that extended far beyond any single lifetime. After examining every angle, its stones, its sound, its alignments, and the society that built it, the artificial intelligence reached a chilling realization. Stonehenge was not created for a single purpose, but as a system designed to influence people, mark time on a vast scale, and endure for millennia. So what do you think Stonehenge was really built to do? Drop your thoughts about this in the comments below, and if you found this video fascinating, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because we'll be uploading more incredible stories like this one in the coming weeks. Until then, see you. And as research continues, Stonehenge is revealing even deeper layers of complexity, layers that go far beyond what we can see with the naked eye. One of the most important discoveries in recent years is that Stonehenge was never meant to stand alone. Surrounding the monument is a vishal prehistoric landscape filled with hidden structures, ancient pathways, and buried features stretching for miles. Using ground-penetrating radar and remote sensing technologies, archaeologists have identified dozens of previously unknown sites, circles, pits, and alignments that appear to connect directly with Stonehenge. This suggests that the famous stone circle was just the center of a much larger network, carefully planned and constructed over generations. In fact, some researchers now believe that the entire area functioned as a kind of ancient, sacred landscape, where movement, direction, and experience were all part of a larger design. One of the most intriguing elements of this landscape is the presence of long, straight pathways, often referred to as processional routes. These paths seem to guide people towards Stonehenge in very specific ways, aligning with natural features like rivers and hills, as well as celestial events. Walking these routes may have been part of a ritual journey, gradually preparing individuals for what awaited them inside the stone circle. This idea becomes even more fascinating when combined with the monument's acoustic properties. Imagine approaching Stonehenge along one of these ancient paths. At first you hear nothing but wind. Then slowly, as you get closer, faint sounds begin to emerge. Voices, drums, echoes. By the time you enter the circle, the sound surrounds you, amplified and controlled by the stones themselves. It wouldn't just feel like entering a structure, it would feel like entering an experience. This has led some experts to propose that Stonehenge was designed not just to be seen, but to be felt. A place where sound, movement, and environment work together to create powerful sensory effects. But there's another layer to this mystery, one that lies in the stones themselves. Recent chemical and geological studies have shown that some of the blue stones used in Stonehenge may have been chosen for more than just their availability. Certain types of these stones produce unique sounds when struck, almost like musical instruments. This raises the possibility that the builders intentionally selected stones for their acoustic qualities. If that's true, then Stonehenge may not only have amplified sound, it may have been part of creating it. A structure designed for resonance, a place where stone, sound, and human activity merged into something much greater. And then there's the question of time. Stonehenge was not built all at once. It evolved over hundreds of years, with different phases of construction adding new stones, changing alignments, and reshaping the site. This suggests that knowledge was passed down across generations, refined and improved over time. Each generation didn't just maintain Stonehenge, they enhanced it. They added layers of meaning, layers we are still trying to understand today. Despite all this progress, one truth remains clear. Stonehenge cannot be explained by a single purpose. It is not just a calendar, not just a burial ground, not just a ceremonial site. It is something more, a system, a design where astronomy, engineering, sound, and human experience come together in a way that still challenges modern understanding. And perhaps the most thought-provoking question is this: was Stonehenge the beginning of something, or the final result of knowledge that came from somewhere else? Because the level of precision, planning, and awareness seen here doesn't feel accidental. It feels learned, developed, refined, which means the people who built it didn't just understand their world, they understood how to shape it. And as technology continues to advance, we may be getting closer to uncovering the truth. But for now, Stonehenge remains what it has always been, a silent structure, holding answers we are only just beginning to hear.